What is up, guys? I'm back here with another mod, and this is probably going to be one of the most controversial mods I've ever done because I just purchased a throttle body spacer and a cool air intake. The cool air intake is sealed, so it's going to hook up to my snorkel fine. The reason why I say that these are controversial mods is because if you go on the internet, there's a lot of debate about if these actually do anything. I've been all over Tacoma World. I've been all over different forums that talk about these, racer forums, whatever. And some people say that throttle body spacers are the magic bullet that can do all this stuff. They improve your fuel economy, your lower end torque, your horsepower. Same thing with the cold air intake there, whatever it is. Me, I don't really know where I fall. So this is more of a curiosity. I got the two of these as a package deal. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna put them on the truck, see how they perform. And I got them together on Amazon, so that way if they don't work, I can return them and just say the product did not work as advertised. So curiosity has gotten the better of me, and I'm gonna throw these on my truck and see if they make any kind of difference, or if I just purchased two very expensive noisemakers. All right, here we go. Now the first thing you're going to want to do before you do any kind of mod like this is to disconnect the battery. I actually need to fix my battery anyway. You can see the guy who installed it over at AutoZone kind of janked it up. So you want to unplug these just because your mass airflow sensor is going to be disconnected when you do this. Not that the mass airflow sensor is necessarily on when the truck is off. But I have heard that people have gotten error codes because they forgot to disconnect their battery terminal. So this is the part we're going to be taking out. You can see we have our stock air box here and a giant resonator box here. The cold air intake does have a resonator box like that. It's just a lot smaller. And I don't want this to be too loud at all. I'm really just looking for performance games. I don't want it to be screaming down the street. So if it is the case and it is that loud, I'm definitely going to return it. Also, if you are unaware, your stock Tacoma is essentially a cold air intake. I have a snorkel setup, which is also a cold air intake, but your stock box goes right to the fender, right into the fender well anyway. You can kind of see that, that silver ring there, and it actually pulls in air right from the fender. So it's not like you are pulling in hot air from the engine bay to begin with. So I feel like that part is kind of gimmicky. You would absolutely never want to go with something like this. That's a quote-unquote cold air intake, but that's actually going to take in hotter air than what your stock setup would do. So we'll see what happens. So I've gone ahead and started tearing this down. I've taken apart the stock air box. There's a couple bolts on the bottom of that that'll totally remove it. I've disconnected the top of that from the intake tube there. And then over here, that is where the throttle body spacer is going to go. And be careful when you're taking this apart. That's your mass airflow sensor. You definitely don't want to break that. There's a couple screws there that it comes undone with. All right, so I've gotten the top of the intake off. I have the mass airflow sensor removed right there. There is one thing to note with these cold air intakes, whatever they call them. They don't have that, and that is a carbon filter. So if you're in some place like California and you install one of these, there's a good chance you're probably not going to pass emissions because that. So it even says on the AFE box that it's not smog compliant. So make sure before you even go and order one of these, if by the end of this video we find out it actually does something, that you're not in a place where you're going to fail inspection or emissions by installing one. So there she is, the magical throttle body spacer, as the box claims. 12 horsepower and 14 torque. I have a tough time believing that this is going to work like that, but supposedly this little puppy makes a tornado in your engine, and then that tornado gives you that. So there it is, all bolted in. Maybe the extra inch of space there is gonna make a difference. I don't know. So there it is installed. I mean, it certainly looks cool if you want to flex on people at the mall or something or whatever. I was able to actually pair this up with my snorkel, so that's kind of cool. So it is maintaining the whole sealed intake type thing, so I'm still taking air from up there. I made sure this is all sealed off, and getting this thing on over the throttle body was a pain just because I have that spacer in there, but the spacer came with the kit, but you can see how scrunched up it is. But I was able to do it, and then I reinstalled my mass airflow sensor, and now we're going to take it for a rip and see if I don't get any error codes, and maybe maybe it'll feel a little better. We'll have a little more pep, who knows? All right, so I am taking it around the block. First impression, and I'm in like first, second gear here, it's not that loud, so that's good. Because I was very worried, sometimes with intakes like this, they're just absolute noise boxes. I had one on my old SUV back in the day because I thought it was cool because I was, 17 at the time. But so far in the neighborhood, not bad. I do notice a very, very slight whistling. Throttle body spacers are infamous for that. It sounds like the world's tiniest turbo. But you really have to listen for it. I don't even know if the camera is going to pick it up. We'll see what happens when I actually like... Oh no, now I hear it. All right, we'll see what happens. I'm only going about 30 because I'm going through the neighborhood. I'm about to turn out onto a road here. And the engine's warm, so obviously that factors into the sound as well. All right, here we go, turning out onto the road. I'm gonna stomp on it so we can kind of hear it. Okay, so is it horrible? No. It's actually not. At cruising speed, I really don't hear it at all, which was good because I didn't want too much sound. I already have a 3-inch catback on here that I chopped off over the back axle. So cruising, I actually don't hear it. So that's good. And really, I was also curious, they also claim this will give you better fuel economy somehow because this thing is called the Magic Bullet. I don't know if AFE was being self-aware or funny when they did that, but we'll see. I'm gonna really stomp on it here because I think hopefully that's the only time you can hear it, which I guess is nice because some people are into that. I'm kind of in between on if I like that or not. I don't want to be the obnoxious guy in the obnoxious truck because trucks already kind of have an image like that. At idle, it's definitely dead quiet. I don't hear the intake at all. All right, here we go. So yeah, it gives a little bit more grunt. And there is a whistle in like the 3,800 RPM range is what I'm noticing. Anything under 3 though, I don't hear it. All right, so is this a worthwhile investment? We're gonna find out. I'm gonna run this for about 2 weeks, which will probably take me through at least 3 to 4 tanks of gas. I do a lot of driving around town and also highway. I'm not gonna get this on a dyno meter, the thing that measures how much power and stuff you're actually making, because that's like $300. And for a silly YouTube video, I don't really think that's worth it. So we're just going off of my seat dynometer. Do I feel a difference in power? Hard to tell. Does it feel peppier? Again, hard to tell. It's definitely not as loud or obnoxious as I thought it was gonna be. It's no louder than the exhaust that I already have on here. It definitely gives a little more rumble when you get over like 3,000, 3,500 RPMs. And I guess that's up to you if that's too much or not. What is interesting though is I'm noticing at my like cruising RPMs at like 1,500 to 2,000, it's actually quieter than the setup that I had. And I don't know if that is because of the increased airflow. The valves don't have to open as far as they would have. I mean, with the direct injection engine, the computer is going to automatically compensate for the amount of oxygen that you're going to need in your engine, depending on the speed, what gear you're in, and that kind of stuff, how far down you have the accelerator. So that's why with a modern truck, these usually don't give you a whole lot of benefit other than looks and maybe, well, definitely some sound. Again, paired with my catback, this sounds fine. Definitely lowered the octave a little bit. But I'm really not noticing a huge difference. For the price point, is it worth it? maybe if your truck's bone stock. My truck is also tuned, and I think the tune made up for a lot of the shortcomings and complaints that I had against the truck to begin with. But I am noticing that my RPMs are a little lower, about 500 RPMs lower. So that's always good, I guess, for the longevity of an engine. Yeah, I have nothing bad to say against this. I just don't know if it's actually really doing anything, aside from a little more aggressive sound. The AFE does have the resonator box, which is good because I didn't want this thing to sound ridiculous. I don't know. I guess ultimately the verdict is still out. The jury is still out. They haven't deliberated. The people of the internet are still deliberating and arguing about this, and we probably will until the end of time. I mean, back in the 90s, yeah, you could get a little Subaru, add a cold air intake and a throttle body spacer, and it might actually do something for that engine and give you some horsepower. With this, I don't know. Again, because all the modern technology that you have in the third generation Tacoma, or really any truck made after a car made after like 2004, I don't know if you're going to get a whole lot of benefit from something like this. I'm going to keep running this, and I really just want to see if my fuel economy gets any better, or, you know, if it doesn't, and this is all just marketing. So the one thing I'm noticing with this, and I guess it's a check mark for AFE, the lag between second and third gear, which I've noticed even with a tune, doesn't seem as pronounced. It's definitely feeling a little smoother. And I don't know if that is because the engine is getting more air, or if the magic throttle body spacer actually did something to fix that, by providing more space in the throttle body, or whatever the science, quote unquote, behind that is. It does feel pretty smooth, and like I said, as long as I don't go over like 3,500 RPMs, I don't hear the whistling. This throttle body spacer specifically says that it is quiet. You can get ones that are obnoxious. Like I said, it'll make it sound like you have a turbo in there, even if you don't. So if that's something you're into, go ahead and order one. And then you can just turbo up on everybody at the stoplights, or whatever it is that you like to do to make noise. So this is interesting. On my way home, which is about almost 15 miles, I averaged 17.5 miles per gallon, which is much higher than I normally get. Normally I'm at 15.5 tank average. So that's actually kind of encouraging. I don't know, maybe there is some kind of science to this thing. So thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I will follow up with my thoughts on this in about 2 weeks.